Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports and the conversations you want to hear from your favorite sports icons and athletes. Hello, I'm Boom Gonzalez. And you can watch the game live and, of course, our past episodes on demand on the Pilipinas Live app for just 99 pesos a month. Available for download or Google, or make that download on Google Play and the App Store. So, you ready? Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game.
At the corner, bang! Jordan Clarkson is on fire.
And it goes to Team USA.
Oh!
Yeah! Wow!
In the 2023 FIBA World Cup.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the show. The dust has settled, and Germany are officially the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023 champions after their first finals appearance in history. Now, joining us to talk about the incredible all-European finale is our friend and basketball analyst, Coach Norman Black. Coach, welcome back to the game. We knew this was going to happen again, but what we didn't know until obviously a couple of days ago was who was going to make the finals. So before we start our conversation, was this the matchup that you had, or did you think of another matchup? Are you surprised with the matchup in the finals first?
Well, I grew up in the United States, so I was hoping and praying that the United States would make the finals. I thought Canada had a chance of beating Serbia, but I actually thought Serbia was the favorites going into that particular game. So I thought it would be Serbia versus the USA.
Right.
But Germany, they caused an upset out there.
Right. Interesting. Before we talk about the Germany-Serbia matchup, why did you think that Serbia was the favorite in your opinion?
I felt a certain way towards Canada that I felt towards the USA, that they were too small.
Okay.
They just didn't have the size to match up with the bigger teams, and that was one of the problems they had throughout the entire tournament. When they faced the bigger teams, they struggled a little bit, and I thought they would struggle against Serbia, because
Right.
Serbia does have a big team.
Right. Okay, so now we talk about the finals, an all-European Euroball finals, which is interesting because I will touch on the point about the comparison of that bronze match and the gold match. Let's talk about that. What a great game in the finals. We were treated to a really tight one. That first half was incredible. The third quarter, there was a spurt, a separation from Germany, and you'd think this was it. Germany was going to pull away. Serbia at the end made that last run, but Germany was a little bit too tough. Now, tell us what your thoughts about that game.
Yeah, Abramovich came through in the fourth quarter for the Serbian team, gave them a chance to come back, gave them a chance to almost win the game. I thought the first half was just beautiful basketball.
Beautiful.
I mean,
I agree.
Both teams shot the basketball well. Neither team turned it over. They shot well from the foul line. They shot well from 3 points. They shot well from 2 points. It was just a great first half, and it was filled with intensity. I mean, defensively, they were into one another, and they were playing physical basketball, making it very difficult for the referees to govern the game. But at the same time, you know, it ended up, what, a one-point game or a tied game at the end of the first half. It was just a game for the ages,
Right.
At least in the first half. In the second half, in that third quarter, I thought Germany started to get a little bit more physical. I thought Voigtman really made a big difference in that third quarter and in the fourth quarter because of his size. And eventually they pulled away. But like I said, Abramovich just went off in the fourth quarter and gave his team a chance.
First European finals, an all-European final since the year 2006, of course. The USA, a regular customer in the finals that always breaks it up. You said the first half was beautiful. Can we expound on that? What made, just as a basketball junkie, what made that first half beautiful in your eyes?
Well, the first thing was the environment.
Okay.
The fans.
Right.
For both sides.
And
Particularly
even
the Serbian
Filipinos,
side, because they were
course.
really into it.
They travel with
But,
that team.
You know, just to see, you know, I was around for the first game, and there was a big crowd for the first game.
Correct.
And then everybody went out of the gym, and a
Yes.
big crowd came in
Right.
for the second game.
Were you
So,
surprised about that, first and foremost, that a big crowd still came out for an all-European final, knowing that Canada and NBA. There were 19 NBA players for Canada, USA.
I won't say I was surprised. I was happy.
Good, yes.
Not just for that, but for the entire tournament. The way
course.
the Filipino fans came out and supported the tournament.
Right.
And got a chance to witness great basketball, something we may not ever see again in our lifetime.
That's right. And then you said that was the fans. The other part, the basketball part. What was so beautiful about that?
Well, I
first
thought
half?
at this point of the tournament, these were the two best teams in the tournament. I mean, I know Canada has a lot of NBA players. USA, they have all NBA players.
19 for both, yeah.
But if you watch the entire tournament, Serbia was great throughout the entire tournament. They only had one loss to Italy.
Correct.
And of course, Germany never lost. So these two teams were very consistent. And I was looking at their statistics. For the entire tournament, they shot over 50% from the field. They shot over 60% from 2 points.
You're talking about Germany?
I'm talking about both teams.
Both teams,
Yeah,
okay.
Serbia
Wow.
and Germany.
Wow.
Over 38% from 3 points, over 77% from the foul line. I mean, if you shoot the ball like that, you have a very, very good chance of winning, and the game becomes a lot easier.
Right. And I think what also set the tone, and this shouldn't surprise us anymore, but for those who are probably watching European basketball for the very first time, and I'm sure, Coach Norman, there were a lot of Filipinos who were watching European basketball this much for the last 2 weeks for the very first time. The first 8 baskets of that game were all assisted. And I felt like it really set the tone for the finals as compared to the bronze medal match, which we'll talk about later. There was really rarely isolations and a lot of like dribbling. There wasn't a lot of that until the end when the stars took over and Dennis Schroeder. But what about this Serbia team that mostly in their wins, they only lost once, you said, against Italy. Mostly in their wins, they had big margins. Germany had a few, nip and
Close
tuck
games,
affairs.
that's
Yeah,
right.
did that help them?
I thought in the case of both teams, they both played very good defense. I thought Serbia's defense was probably the best in the tournament leading up into the championship game. Of course, Germany was able to shut them down and win the championship. So in the end, you have to say they were probably the best defensive team. But Serbia would just get into you. I mean, they would make it difficult for you to run from point A to point B. I mean, they were all over you. And hey, that's how you win. That's how you win games. Now, of course, you're going to be called for fouls when that happens, but at the same time, you're just deterring the offense from doing what it wants to do, and you're frustrating the offense. And I thought Serbia did a good job of doing that the entire tournament.
And obviously, these two teams, Coach Norman, have completely adjusted to the rules, how the fouls were called. They're so used to FIBA basketball, international basketball.
I won't say that because
Really?
they were still complaining to the referees.
well, that
they were
won't
still
be.
getting technicals, but yeah, the team to adjust will probably be the team that wins. And obviously, these teams did the best job of doing that.
Let's talk individually now. Dennis Schroeder, a tough game in the semifinals. Almost lost that game also in the end, but boy, did he make up for it here in the finals. Clutch baskets in the end. Of course, the MVP of the tournament. Your thoughts on the guy and why is he tough in international setting?
You can take a look at his stats on the screen there: 19.6 assists a game, 2 rebounds, 1.4 steals per game. He was exceptional, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. He was getting into his man defensively as well as being able to score points. He did have his moments throughout the entire tournament where
Correct.
he struggled, particularly, I believe, against Latvia.
Yeah.
He struggled against that team, but at the same time, he came through when it was crucial. He actually hit the game-winning shot, the last jump shot he made at the end. And he overcame adversity. Not too many people know about this, but I was just scanning through YouTube, and I saw a YouTube clip of him fighting his coach during one of the timeouts, which means, that's adversity. That's
Right.
something you have to get over because, they're having a little spat during a timeout, and obviously they were able to get over it. Obviously, he was able to refocus and get back to his game, and the coach was probably professional about it and said, hey, you're my player, let's go out and just win.
Yeah, thanks for the correction. That was the Latvia game where he struggled mightily prior to the semifinal matchup against the USA. Now, complemented by the great player of the game, Franz Wagner, who even missed 4 games in this tournament due to that ankle injury, came back like he didn't miss a beat. What has impressed you about him in general and in that game in the finals?
What impresses me about Franz is the fact that I believe he's going to be a star. I mean, he's 6'10". People don't realize that. He's about 6'10",
Right.
and he's huge. And he's playing like a guard. He's playing like a wingman. He's guarding. He switches off to all the guards defensively, but he can also guard big men inside. So he has a great future. He really came up big in this particular game. Not just this particular game, because remember, he did not start off this tournament. He was hurt at the beginning of this tournament.
He played the first game, missed the next 4.
Yes, and then he came back towards the end, and that's what
Correct.
made a big difference for their team.
Right. Are you surprised that they did not have any defeat here in this tournament?
Well, I'm a basketball junkie, and
Yes. That's why you're here.
and I watched all their games during the preseason.
Right.
They only lost one game. They lost to the United
USA,
States.
via
Other than
a
that,
comeback,
they
too.
beat everybody.
Right,
so
right.
yeah, they were very consistent throughout, and hey, they have a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a big team and they're very physical. They shoot the basketball well, and that's a recipe for winning.
Well coached too, obviously.
Yes.
Germany, the world champions, the FIBA basketball 2023 world champions. Coach, stay put, please. I know you have a lot to share with us about your personal moments for this year's FIBA World Cup here in the Philippines. Now, after the break, we've got more FIBA World Cup basketball. Coach Norman shares his biggest moments of the whole tournament. So keep it right here. You're watching The Game. Welcome back. You're still watching The Game. The FIBA Basketball World Cup Finals may be over, but hoop fans from all over the world are still talking about the incredible moments of this historic tournament. And still with us to give us his personal list of his, in his opinion, the biggest moments of the World Cup is Coach Norman Black. Okay, Coach, there was, let's start with a game that you saw live. You know, you talked about the experience.
At the Araneta Coliseum.
Right, you talked about the experience earlier of the Filipinos coming out to watch a game, even if it wasn't the Philippines. And this is one of those games that you personally witnessed, Italy versus Serbia. Tell me about that experience.
Well, first it was the crowd, the Serbian crowd versus the
Italian
Italian crowd, and they were just going at it.
Right.
I was actually sitting right behind them, so I got a full view of what was happening in the stands. That was enjoyable in itself, but it was a great game. It was a great game where Serbia actually got off to a big start, got out to a big lead, and all of a sudden, Italy just came back. They came back, I think, down 16 or 17 points in that game. And Fontecchio was
Simone
the start.
Fontecchio,
he could not miss. He was making shots all over the place. And we know he plays for Utah. We know he's a good player, but I've never seen him like this before.
Right.
It was just a great comeback. And then afterwards, the Italian coach was just going crazy, jumping all around the court. And it's just a great moment, good experience.
Obviously, this was a different Italian team from the other World Cups. A lot of people expected them to be good, but not as good as the other teams.
Oh, no Bellinelli.
No Bellinelli, that's right. Gallinari, obviously, out also. But this was the only defeat that Serbia tasted in this game, right? And to see that live and to see that crowd, that traveling Italian and Serbian crowd, had to be such a great experience for you.
Just the entire thing was a great experience. And then once again, I know we've said this over and over again, but just want to thank MVP for bringing the World Cup to the
Right.
Philippines. You know, being a basketball coach myself, it gave me a chance to learn a lot from other coaches here in the Philippines, and of course, just be a fan.
Right. You are a fan, but do you watch with different eyes also when you're watching these teams? Do you watch the coaches and you know some of the things that they do too?
I don't focus so much on the coaches. I focus on what the coaches are doing, at least their teams are doing, how they're playing their pick and roll defenses, how they're guarding the post area, how they're attacking. Offensively, defensively, I'm trying to analyze exactly, you know, what's going on out there.
Right, right.
Most of the time.
Most.
Sometimes I'm just a fan. I'm just watching.
You're just enjoying the
I'm
basketball.
just watching the game. Yeah.
Especially that game, the Euro Ball, obviously is a very different game, and we'll talk about the differences later. But the other thing that your personal, one of the biggest moments and favorite moments of this whole tournament was, of course, a team that involved our own Gilas Pilipinas and that win against China. Break it down for us, Coach. What were your favorite moments from that game?
This is why it was one of my favorite moments.
Okay.
Because I think, fan stream.
Yes.
So I was actually doing the telecast.
Perfect.
In a different venue, but I was doing
Yes,
the telecast.
yes.
And I was asked a question. I'm not sure who it was who asked me.
I'm sure
It might
Diego
have
was
been-
there.
I think it might have been, yeah, maybe Diego was
Yeah,
there.
right.
And he asked me something about what does the RP team need to do.
Okay.
And I kind of deflected the question. I said, no, what does Clarkson need to do?
Okay.
He needs to explode.
Okay.
And that's exactly what he did. Not that he heard me because I was here in the studio, but he just went off.
Right. In that
He
third quarter.
couldn't miss, and all I could say was, I wish he could have done this for the whole tournament because this is what we know from him.
Correct.
And he just went berserk in that game. He was just making shots all over the place. And remember, we're playing China, so
Yes.
you know it's a big win for us.
20 of his 34 points, I think, came in that third quarter, and in just a short span of time, and not even 5 minutes, I think that he was able to do that. And it was a must-win situation for us.
We had to win.
For
our spirit.
Exactly. It did not matter in terms of any qualifying game or us making Olympics or getting better in the World Cup, but for our spirit. I love that you said that, Coach, and for the fans who showed up at the Araneta. It was such a feel-good moment. You wanted to talk about also just Philippine basketball in general, since we're talking about that. What point did you want to make, Coach Norman?
Yeah, I've been a part of Philippine basketball now since 1981, so
Right.
it's quite a while. And after watching the World Cup, it's interesting how you bring the World Cup here and you just have a whole new perspective on basketball itself around the world. Because you follow the NBA most of the time, at least I do. But now I'm a fan of European basketball.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is we may have to rethink how we train our kids on the grassroots level.
Okay.
Because no matter what we say, we may not be able to get to be 6'10" and move like Wagner.
Franz and Mo Wagner.
Yeah, those guys, how they move.
Fontecchio.
How they can pick up the guards.
Correct.
And we have a tendency when our kids are young, if they have any size on them, we put them in the center position and we tell them to play the center.
Do center things.
I think we need to rethink that and maybe train our bigger kids when they're young to be guards, to be wingmen, to be able to handle the basketball, to be able to shoot threes, because that's the only way we're going to be able to compete on this level. We're never going to be 6'9", 6'10", 6'11" average,
Right.
but we can be 6'4", 6'5", and have the skills of a guard instead of having the skills of a big guy.
What about when it comes to the smaller guys? You approach the big men issue.
Well, 6'5", 6'6", that's small.
Yeah, okay. I mean, for us, I mean, the
For
smaller
international
guards that
basketball,
we're
yeah.
still going to, we still have players who are obviously exceptional at 6'2", 6'1". Well, how do you see them training as kids if we are going to compete in the world basketball level?
Quickness, speed, agility. three-point shooting
Three-point shooting.
has to be a positive for us. It's one of the things that let us down in this tournament
Right.
was we did not shoot well from the three-point line.
Right.
We have to shoot well from the three-point line. We have to find the best three-point shooters in the Philippines and be able to develop them and put them in the national team, because that's one way that we can win games against other teams.
Right.
I mean, if you're out there beyond the three-point line, it's kind of hard to defend out there sometimes. So that's something we can do because, you know, that's just practice. That's
Right, right. And you could see all of these European teams, right, with whether they're the smaller guards or the bigger wing players or centers, if you may. On the run, they're making their threes.
I do have one more thought, though. Boone.
Please go ahead, Coach Norman.
Even the coaches,
Okay.
and I'm a coach,
Correct.
need to rethink how we play basketball here. in the Philippines.
Schematics-wise, are you
Well, you know, we run a lot of dribble drive. We're small, so we try to use our quickness and our speed to blow by people.
Right.
But the problem is when you get a 6'10" who's just as fast and just as quick as you, how do you blow by him? Even if you blow by him, he's still going to catch you upstairs. I mean, he doesn't have to catch you downstairs. He'll just block it upstairs. So we have to really rethink maybe what we saw in this tournament, which is so much player movement.
Correct. Ball movement, player movement
Yeah,
was just
it's not trying to beat your man one-on-one all the
Right.
time. Instead, it's, hey, you know, maybe it's pinch post pass,
Right.
split the post,
Right.
you know, back doors,
Right.
Curl cuts.
A lot of
Pop back
misdirection.
to the ball, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are things that we can actually work on to become better at.
Okay, I love that you're saying that. So because I'm looking at this probably is your train of thought going forward when you know coach now. I had a fascinating conversation with your son. Obviously, I had the pleasure of doing the Canada-USA game with
That
him.
was his first game.
His first game, the bronze medal game. And I wanted you to highlight that because that's your third point, the Canada defeating USA. How different was watching that Canada-USA game and then the Germany-Serbia game in terms of the basketball itself? I was telling Aaron last night, it's like this is the same tournament, but it's like watching two different worlds playing, two different styles of play. Am I wrong for saying that or seeing
Well,
that,
I love
Coach
my
Norman?
U.S. team.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad
Of
about
course,
them or
no.
put them down, but I thought at times they didn't share the basketball enough. They
Okay.
could have moved it a little bit more. I thought there was too much forcing drives to the basket when guys were wide open on the perimeter. So that would be part of the difference. You know, when guys drive from the Serbian team and the defense collapses, the ball moves out
Right.
for wide open shots.
Right.
We didn't always have that with the U.S. team, and Canada is a little bit like that too.
Correct.
It's just that Dylan Brooks just went berserk.
39 points.
Nobody expected that. That
right.
probably might be a career high for him. You know, since high school probably.
Dylan the villain. All right, let's talk about Canada. Their first time to make it this far. They're going to make the Olympics, obviously. They have qualified for Paris 2024. They medaled for the very first time. They also beat USA for the very first time in international play in 8 matchups. That was the first time that they win. Talk about this moment for Team Canada and how did they do it?
Well, great victory for Canada because, you know, everybody always says they always get there, but they can't get over the hump.
Correct.
They can't
Yes.
win the big game.
Right,
well,
right.
they won it this time,
Right.
and they're going to take it home with them. And like you said, they're going to be going to the Olympics. And, you know, they have a lot of NBA players, too, so they have a lot of pride. And they're going up against the U.S. players, so...
Which they wanted. They wanted that matchup. Maybe not in the bronze medal match, but in the gold medal match. But they said they wanted that matchup.
But for me, it goes back to what I said about Clarkson in the game against China. All of a sudden, Dylan Brooks just goes berserk.
Right.
And sometimes that's what it takes to win games. One player just has to go out and just will his team to victory.
Right.
And that's what happened for Canada in that game.
As if he needed a little help, but he did get
Yeah.
a lot of help from SGA, from Shea Gilgeous
Great
Alexander,
player.
who's just been incredible the whole tournament.
One of the top 5 players in the NBA right now.
Right. Last thought, Coach Norman, this whole experience, last time was 1978, completely different now, being here in the Philippines. Just put a bow on this whole World Cup experience here in the Philippines.
Well, I thanked MVP already, so I won't
Yes.
do that again.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was talking to Al Palilio about the entire, you know, the World Games here in the Philippines,
Right.
the whole experience. And obviously, it was just well put together. It was well organized. I mean, if you were there at the arena, you could just feel that. You know, it had class with it.
Yep.
And I think all Filipinos can be very proud of how this was handled. Philippines will be well known around the world
Exactly.
for basketball
Right.
now, believe me.
You know, all the eyeballs that we got from the last 2.5 weeks. Coach Norman, it is always great to pick your brain,
Thank you.
regardless of whether it's World Cup or anything else, but basketball in general. Good to see you, and we'll see you
Thank you.
soon again. In the meantime, we've got more sports stories, especially FIBA stories, after the break, so keep it right here. You're watching The Game.
At the corner, bang! Jordan Clarkson is on fire.
And it goes to Team USA.
Oh!
Wow!
In the 2023 FIBA World Cup.
Welcome back to The Game. As the FIBA World Cup 2023 action comes to a close, Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas President Al Espanillo shares his thoughts on the country's hosting of the tournament. Panlilio says he is proud of the local organizing committee and the volunteers involved in the historic event. He adds he feels bittersweet that the competition now ends, but he is also looking forward to the 2027 World Cup, which will be held in Qatar. Panlilio says now the focus is to prepare the national team for the Asian Games, emphasizing their never-give-up spirit. The Asian Games kicks off September 23 in Hangzhou, China. Thank you for joining us tonight. Catch us weeknights here on One News and on the Pilipinas Live app, or you can watch us live and our past episodes on demand for just 99 pesos a month, available for download on Google Play or the App Store. I'm Boom Gonzalez, and this has been The Game.